Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to all our Khuddam brothers on another session of professional webinar conducted by the Sanat-O-Tijarat Department of Majlis Khuddam-Ul-Ahmadiyya. Alhamdulillah, this is our ninth session today, I think, and we're very lucky to have Brother Wajahad from Melbourne with us today. He's mashallah done a degree in journalism and is currently working in the field as well. So Jazakallah for coming today, Brother Wajahad.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah, Hadi Bhai for having me, and assalamu alaikum to everyone listening. Hopefully, I'll be able to give you guys a general idea of the field of journalism, media, and communications, and hopefully that will give you a better idea of what the field is about. And if there's any questions, then we'll be able to hopefully answer those questions today.
Absolutely. Inshallah, I'm sure we will. All right, brother. So before we touch journalism, do you want to give us a bit of a background? Actually, I know I've met you in Melbourne quite a few times, even when you moved to Melbourne, but I'm not exactly sure which year you moved. And tell us a little bit about your background when you moved to Australia. What grade were you in, and how was that process like, and what kind of earlier education you've had?
Yeah, so in Pakistan, I've done till year 10. So I was about probably 14 years old when I moved to Australia. First, I went to with family. I moved to Rockhampton, which is like not really a small town, but it's smaller than other big cities. It's about 8-hour drive from Brisbane. So I did year 11 there, and then we decided to move to Melbourne because there wasn't that many people of our background over there. So unlike my family, we decided to, it's better for us to move to Melbourne where we can interact with people of different backgrounds and stuff, and learn from everyone else. Because over there it's very, like very laid back, very Aussie over there, like
Yeah. They didn't have many
so
Jamaat members or anyone around there because it's quite an isolated place. I think it's like what 10 hours north of
8-hour drive.
Brisbane.
Yeah,
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 8 hours
north
drive.
of yeah, just before Mackay and Toowoomba and stuff. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we decided to come here, and then I did year 12 here from Melbourne, and then in year 12 so I always had an interest in not so much in politics, but more in history, more in current affairs, that kind of stuff, more in terms of getting knowledge of any type. And I was never big on, you would say, engineering and all of that stuff. So like I had an interest in medicine, but it wasn't something I wanted to pursue or something. And then Jamia was one of the other options. So but then I wrote to Hazur, and then I expressed my interest in studying journalism. And then Hazur said as well that we need journalists in in Jamaat. So it will be good if you study journalism and inshallah serve Jamaat in any way possible. So yeah, so then I started studying journalism from La Trobe University, and then and then when I first started, it was even when I went there, there wasn't too many. Even in my cohort, it was about 300 people, and out of those, I was out of there was only 2 or 3 of us from like colored background in the journalism course as well, like from an ethnic background. Most of them were Aussies. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so in that perspective, I think it was very different. Even personally, I had no like in the past, I didn't know. I couldn't go to anyone to seek knowledge from, to ask them what any questions I had, to get
Like
any
when you were
information as
studying
to
or
how to.
before you chose journalism?
Yeah, before I started journalism, and then
Yeah.
when I
So you
started
couldn't
as
ask
well,
anyone what
even
the field is about.
yeah, what the field is
Yeah.
about, how to get into it, how
Yeah.
to make connections. Even the people I told that I started studying journalism, even they didn't know what's it about. And
Yeah.
journalism is like, because my degree was media and communications, so media and communications also also involves like marketing, designing, graphic designing. Journalism is a major I chose to do, and
Oh,
then
okay.
public relations as well. So you can pretty much branch out into all of that stuff as well if you don't want to do proper full-on journalism reporting and stuff.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, yeah,
let me just stop you. So, because I used to think
yeah,
it's a bachelor's of journalism something, but it's not. What you're telling me is bachelor's of
communications.
media and communications, and then you've
Yeah,
got multiple different
yeah,
majors you can do.
yeah,
Marketing is one, journalism is one, and there's quite a
yeah.
few others that you named. What were
And
those
then
again?
yep, and then third one is public relations, and then
Public
fourth
relations.
one, yep, and then fourth one is sports journalism. So that's only specifically talking about sports
So there's only
journalism,
four.
AFL, soccer.
So there's
So
only
at
four
La Trobe,
majors.
there's only four. Yeah, at La
Okay.
Trobe, at my university, there's only four. But other universities, you can go like there's different courses. At like Swinburne University, you can do different module of it. But at Monash, you can do a different module.
Okay.
But usually they try to branch it out like this, and then
Okay.
that way it's easier to differentiate between which field you want to specialize in, sort of.
So these are still relatively broader categories that you major in, and then you can kind of
Yep,
further, based on your interest,
yep,
even within journalism, you can do quite a few different things.
yep.
Okay. So first of all,
Yes,
Alhamdulillah,
even
it's very good to hear that, mashallah, yeah, the blessings of Zurian were guiding you. And
yeah,
so that must have been a huge motivational factor. So that was kind of made it easy relatively for you. But tell me a little bit about this, that before, obviously you would have written to Huzur that journalism is something I'm interested in, and you were mentioning that it was really hard to get in touch with someone, or you did not really know anyone who was a journalist to really ask about different questions you might have had, but you still kind of wrote to
yeah.
Huzur that journalism is something I'm interested in. What really drew you to journalism? Was there anything in specific? What was your kind of mindset at the time? What were you thinking really?
Honestly, at the time, because so it's it was more also like if you wanna look at a worldly perspective, obviously, and Jamati perspective as well,
Mhm.
like you wanna be able to tell people stories, people, people who don't have a bigger say in the
Mm,
outer world. You want to be able
mm,
to like start from the ground level and build your portfolio and be
mm.
able to portray people, be a voice for people,
Yeah, okay.
essentially. And
Yeah, that's
in
awesome.
that aspect, yeah, I loved it. Then getting the knowledge, being on top of everything, that aspect as well. Relating historical facts and then political facts. So I was
Mm-hmm.
always interested in that. So that was another thing. And then also I didn't want to just do like if you work in an office space or something, then you just only specified that
Yeah, yeah.
desk kind of thing. So so back then that was my mindset that I would just want to be moving around, maybe go to
Mm,
different country, go to a different state,
yeah,
report from here, report from there.
yeah,
So I just didn't want to be specified in one, and doing the same thing over and over. In
yeah,
journalism, you can do one story one day, and literally an hour later you'll be doing another story. So
yeah,
you'll be
yeah.
probably,
Totally
yeah.
different.
So depending on where you're working and stuff,
Yeah,
obviously, but you
yeah.
obviously have a specified routine, but
Mm,
then you can sometimes go out of that routine as well, and then you're able to, let's say I'm sitting in Melbourne West today, and then in an hour I'll have to go to Melbourne East, which is a 2-hour drive.
mm.
So I like that idea of being able to do different things on and in a varied space. So
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
so and
Okay.
then yeah,
All right. So then you chose the degree. It's a 3-year program. You chose the major of journalism. How was the study like? Did you think the degree gave you a good exposure of all different kind of specialties within the media and communication?
yeah. So I think it gave me a good idea of everything pretty much. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of the subjects I chose as well, I was interested in law as well. I wanted to do a double degree in like law and journalism at the start,
Mm-hmm.
but then I didn't end up going that way. And then but what I did was I chose minors in some law subjects, so that way I
Okay.
was able to explore that aspect of it as well. And plus, in
Yeah.
journalism as well, you need to be able to uh, you need to learn a lot of laws in terms of specified areas that you're working towards. Like
Mm-hmm.
media law, you have to work. Let's say you're covering um, some sort of story about some construction site, then you need to learn the laws behind that. And real
Yeah.
estate, if you're doing some, yeah, anything about public relations, anything in terms of government related, then you need
Mm-hmm.
to learn the law aspect of that. So I just did some minor subjects in that as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then in terms of subjects, we also had a opportunity to so that was a major subject that's in so how to do mobile storytelling, how to be able to, like, if you, not everyone has a camera, so as in
Mm.
professional camera, so how to be able to do it off your phone, then
Yeah.
how to make a story, how to create a story, how to interview people, how to approach people, how to make connections,
Mm-hmm.
how to work in a studio, in the front end, in the back end. There's whole sort of different roles in the front end and the back end. So
Yeah.
we were able to explore that aspect of it as well. So
Nice.
yeah, the degree, I feel like it gave me pretty much a very good idea of
Mm-hmm.
how a day-to-day life of a journalist is in the studio
Yeah.
and outside of studio, and when they're
Yeah.
not specifically working on a specific story as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Awesome. That's very good to hear. So, and study-wise as well, how was the pressures like? Was it pretty manageable? Were you working part-time or you kind of just doing your degree? And if someone needs to work part-time, can they do that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty manageable. It's not something really um, hard to do. Like if you go into IT field or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
medicine field or even any engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was working part-time and I was doing full-time
Mm-hmm.
studies as well. So I had
Yeah.
my first semester, obviously it was first time, so
Mm-hmm.
um, I was going to uni 5 days a week, and back then I
Okay.
was doing 2 hour transport and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just study on the way there, do any readings and stuff I had to do. But it's more hands-on, which is good. Um, a lot of people think, oh, it's just a lot of writing, or you need to learn how to be good at English and stuff. Obviously, you need to be good at English, but there's not only just writing, you know. You can get into broadcast journalism and stuff, which is obviously what I like doing more as well, and which is
What did you
where
say?
the world is.
Broadcast what?
So broadcast journalism is more
Broadcast
on
journalism.
the news. Broadcast journalism, which
Yeah.
is in front of the camera,
Okay.
and then there's print journalism, which is obviously writing and stuff for newspapers,
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
obviously, like, you know, as well, which is dying out quite a fair bit.
Yeah.
But still, you need to be able to write. You need to be able to create stories to broadcast on the TV channels, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we learn pretty much all of it.
That's good. And do people end up doing any kind of further degrees, like a master's or anything like that, in when they're doing media and communications, or is that you're kind of bachelor's and done and move on to jobs?
Yeah, to be honest, you can do a master's degree. You can also do double degree, in which like I said, which I wanted to do, the law side of it and the journalism. And then
Hmm.
if you do the that degree, then you go into the law side of media. So then you'll explore all how the media companies, how they have a lot of, you know, they get a lot of lawsuits and everything like that. So
Hmm.
that way you can go into that aspect, and if you like the aspect of media and a lawyer as well, then you
Hmm.
can explore that, and then you can go there, and you know, like a lot of media companies have lawyers, big lawyers, you know, because obviously it's a field where you might not always have consent, and there's a lot of law related stuff that comes into play.
Hmm.
So the media channels always need to be on top of all the laws around, you know, around those specific
Yeah.
fields that they're telling a story about. So you can
Okay.
explore into that as well. Yeah, but yeah, during the degree you can apply for internships and stuff as well. And after you'll have to start with print media, which is um which is not everyone what which is not for everyone. I know like a lot of reading, like especially nowadays, people have moved away from reading a lot, like newspapers and stuff. Most of the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
get their information through social media.
yeah.
But through the degree, you can also do a subject on social media in terms of
Mm.
social media marketing and stuff. So you can explore that part of it as well in terms of because it's a
Yeah.
whole like media and communication is a whole wide spectrum.
Cover
So
social
yeah,
media as well. No, yeah, because it's
yeah,
getting so big. Yeah, that was going to be my next
yeah,
question. But
yeah, yeah.
Brother Vijahat, you mentioned a few things about what the media and communications bachelors kind of broadly exposed you to. And I'm not familiar with quite a few things that you mentioned. So I'd actually appreciate if you can. I know you delve into a bit of journalism, and then you're saying broadcast journalism and then print journalism. But can you please name all the other broad categories that they teach you, and what each of those categories kind of entail, what kind of roles you get into afterwards? For example, I think you mentioned one of them was marketing, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you
Marketing.
can name them again and just tell our audience, brothers who'd be thinking of getting into media and communications degree, what are the other possible options for them?
So yeah, okay. So good question. So within media and communication, you can go into a proper journalism where you can become a weather broadcaster, you can
Mhm.
become a reporter, you can become news anchor, someone who sits in the news studio and pretty much reads the news. You can become a reporter where you go out in the field and you interview people and then you report it back to the main studio. And so that's pretty much journalism, main journalism. And then even in that, you can, if you don't want to be in front of the camera, then you can be the cameraman sort of thing. You can be the vision switcher. Vision switcher is someone who's switching between the different cameras and stuff.
Yeah,
So you can do that. You can be the audio
you need to do a
person.
whole degree for that.
You don't need to do the whole degree for that. So it pretty much covers it's just a small aspect of it, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying you can have a job in that as well
you can have it.
if you
Okay.
want to. If you don't want to
Vision
be
switcher, broadcaster, reporter, anchor, news
yeah,
reporter, I guess will be
yeah,
covered in that. These
camera
are the
person,
broad categories
yeah,
of jobs that you can
yeah,
have in
audio,
a.
yeah, yeah.
And what
And
else?
then you can audio specialist or something, then you can become
Okay.
director as well, producer. So you can go into documentary filmmaking. You don't need to be only be into
Okay.
you know if you're not interested in news, then you can go into um, documentary filmmaking kind of stuff. So become producer,
Yeah.
directors, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
So yeah,
Um, and what was one of the other things that you
and
mentioned was a marketing?
yeah, mark in terms of marketing, you can so in this day and age, marketing and social media marketing is very massive.
Hmm.
People, every sort of business, every small business needs a social media marketing and stuff to this grow. You'll see probably on TikTok, a company or business has gone like even literally um, food stalls have
Sorry,
hired like
brother Vijahat.
marketing managers,
Sorry, I
marketing
think you're
team as well.
breaking up there a bit.
Um, yeah,
Sorry, I think you're breaking up there a bit.
yeah,
I think we had a bad
yeah. The
reception there.
connection is breaking over there. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Shall we start with marketing again?
yeah. Okay. Okay. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
can hear you. Okay.
Yeah. So with marketing, you can go into social media marketing. So as
Mhm.
you know, with social media is very massive nowadays. So you would see on TikTok, you have a couple of videos and then, keep putting content out and then eventually sort of, you go viral, you start getting the numbers in and then people start hearing about your business. And then
Mhm.
and then that brings in traffic to your business, like in terms of
Yeah.
online traffic, and then also people start coming to check it out.
Yeah.
So you can go into marketing, you can do graphic designing, you can start your own company as a social media marketing manager, and you can promote businesses. You can design stuff for them. You can do ad generated marketing for them, like Google Analytics and stuff, like Google
Mhm.
ads and Facebook ads and Instagram ads. You can do videography, photography, and all of that stuff as well, which is all related to marketing. And then which is also a field which is growing a lot nowadays.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people starting their own social media marketing agencies, and you can take any niche you want. You can go into construction, real estate, food, anything you like. And if you have a passion
Okay.
for videography, photography, and stuff, so writing script, writing, telling people what to say, interviewing people, all of that stuff. So
Okay.
the degree pretty much covers, in that aspect as well. And
Okay.
then the third one, sports journalism. You can go into sports journalism, where if you love sports, if you love AFL, if you love soccer, then you can pretty much go into sports journalism. You can be a reporter. You can um, be the person, like you will see on Sky Sports in UK and stuff for
Mhm.
English Premier League. You can be the anchor person for the sports that you like. So yeah, sports journalism is pretty much that. You can work for like all these footy clubs here. You can work for them on the
Okay.
grassroots level. You can write stories for them. You can do freelance as well if you like. If you want to
Mhm.
do something else, some other major degree. So,
Yeah.
and then you can probably, if you've done like a short course in journalism, then you can, if you have a passion for videography or writing and stuff, then you can do all of that side of it as well. You can write articles for local like Wyndham City Council or Brimbank City Council. These are like some councils within Melbourne. So
Yeah.
those councils have their own news platforms as well. So you can do that
Okay.
if you
So
would like.
as part of sports journalism, you can work for any of the clubs or even just broadly a sport, and you can always that could be one of your like a
Yeah.
niche specialty that you kind of do news about. And what was there was one more, I'm pretty sure you mentioned one of the other fields. Can you hear me, Brother Jahad?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is it your side the reception is bad, or is it mine?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's okay. Let's keep on
Maybe it
pressing.
could
All
be.
right.
Yeah.
What was one of the other fields that you were
Yeah.
saying that teach you in the media and communications?
So sports journalism, you can go into public relations. Public
Public
relations
relations, yeah.
is you can work for, so every company, every corporate company has a public relations department,
Mhm.
same as marketing as well. So public relations, you can go out to people, you can talk to the stakeholders. Within public relations, you can work for the government as well. So I have a friend whose sister works as in public relation field, public
Mhm.
relations field, and she works for the government, where she goes to overseas to meet politicians and stuff, and she works as that.
Mhm.
So you can, if you have an interest in politics and government affairs, then you
Yeah.
can go into public relations in that side and explore that. And um, yeah, just you're pretty much making connections with people and working with the politicians. So yeah, and then you can go into politics as well as ministers and stuff. So a lot of ministers have done that sort of side degree as well in the past,
Mm.
public relations, because they need to be able to connect to people, communicate to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
So
of course.
if you yeah, so if you want to go into that aspect of it, then you can
Mm.
do that as well.
So just rewinding now, we've got in media and communication bachelor, you've got journalism, marketing, sports journalism, and public relations. Now, my question to you would be, being in the field, which one of them would you recommend a subspecialty kind of that has like more I guess jobs, or is that more kind of growing field? And like we were talking about, like written or print media kind of slowing down a little bit, whereas others might not be. So in your experience, professional experience now, which one of the things are kind of coming up, getting a bit more popular, and there's more jobs and more potential in, and which ones of them are the ones that are dying out a little bit?
So with so I think in terms of social media marketing and stuff, that's where a lot of money is right now. You can just start off from pretty much nothing
Yeah.
by yourself as well. You don't need to wait for to have a lot of experience or apply for jobs and stuff.
Mhm.
That's where let's say if you have a good social media marketing business set up, and you have two retaining clients every month, then you can do videography and ads and marketing and all of that stuff for them, and you'll be probably
Mhm.
be making, let's say, 5 6K a month or something, just from
Mm.
two clients. And
Yeah.
then that could be, you could be doing it by yourself,
Mm.
or you can literally outsource everything. Like you can outsource this to overseas, and they can do like the post-production part of it, and then
Yeah.
you can just, do the hands-on face-to-face part of it. So,
Yeah.
and then in journalism, print is obviously that's where you start pretty much. You probably start from 50, 60 base and salary kind of stuff. And then
Mhm.
from once you have like year to year experience, then you can go to into broadcast journalism. And then from broadcast, you start off as a reporter, or maybe you'll start at the in the back end. You might be writing scripts for the news anchors, like
Mhm.
refining scripts, and maybe writing the news like, oh, this is what needs to be done. Or you
Yeah.
could be someone who just proofreads what's already written, or you can
Yeah.
go into direction or production, or so you pretty much make your way up, and then
Yeah.
you can go up to maybe 120, 130, but it's not something like I'll be realistic. Like it's not something like if you become a doctor or something, then like like later on, like maybe if you have 6 7 year experience, you're probably making 200 300K depending on specialization and whatnot. I don't have too much information on that, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's obviously a certain cap in journalism. But then
Mhm.
also, like if you really want to pursue it properly, if you want
Mhm.
to go in, if you don't want to, if you don't get discouraged easily, and if you have your mindset to something,
Mhm.
then there are journalists out there are news anchors out there in Australia, which are making 200, around 300, because they have a face on the media. Their
Yeah.
face is associated with that news channel.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Walid Ali, that he's like a Muslim news anchor he
Yeah.
works for Nine. So he's
Yeah.
he's the face of project pretty much. Like everyone
Yeah.
knows him. Like maybe not everyone agrees with him, but
Yeah.
in terms of Muslims, he's one person who you can look up to sort of, and you can be like, oh, you want to pursue this, and you want to get into this, and
Yeah.
and even if he moves to another channel, he can ask them whatever price he wants, whatever salary sort of he wants. But
Yeah.
I think it's a very rewarding field. You have a chance to travel, you have a chance to explore
Mhm.
cultures, traditions, you
Mhm.
have a chance to get to know people, make connections, um, and obviously, in terms of Jamaat as well, once you have a solid, or even like once you're in, um, you can pretty much like we need to have to put our say out there as well. So it's always better. It's to have someone on the inside who knows,
Mhm.
like, oh, let's say we have Jalsa happening. So I know working in the news channel, that this is something within the community that's happening, then the
Yeah.
Jamaat won't have to reach out to me to say, oh, this is what's that. Like usually we have to reach out to journalists, send out press
Yeah.
releases, send out
Yeah. Yeah.
contact, DM them, call them, and maybe call 10, 20 of them, and then one or two might
Yeah.
agree that we'll come for a bit, and then
All right.
cover your story. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
if you've got
it's
more of Jamaat members working for different media, let's say,
yeah,
they'll be easier to get the news out. So 100%, there's huge potential
yeah,
there. Even within Jamaat,
yeah,
we need a lot of like help with professionals like you, to help guide the department. And I know, mashallah, you're
yeah,
serving as the press and media for Victoria as well.
yeah.
So which is great. Um, I wanted to ask you, very very comprehensive there, Jazakallah. I myself feel like I've got much better understanding of the whole degree now as well. But let's just go back to doing your degree. You said you have to do a few internships, apply for internships while you're kind of studying, maybe do a couple of months over the summers or something, and then kind of, is it easy to get a job at the end of it?
So with the current climate in Australia,
Mm.
for someone from a different background, it's
Mm-hmm.
still hard to get
Mm-hmm.
into this
Mm-hmm.
field, especially in terms of being the face of a channel. It's
Yeah.
very hard. Like I had, you need a lot of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and secondly, so I did like sort of small interviews for a couple of news channels, and then I spoke to on the side, like it wasn't like an interview. I knew someone who was working within 9 News, and then
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to him, and then he wasn't like my friend or something. He just told me straight on, like, um, big channels like 9 News, 7 News, and stuff. They're still a bit reluctant to have someone from an ethnic background, like a Muslim background, maybe, to have
Yeah.
in as a front-facing,
Yeah. They wouldn't want to put an
journalist
ethnic
for.
person in front of the camera, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Even if you have a big beard or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but in saying that, if you have, your own will, if you have the du'as of Hazur Anwar, and if you're praying
Mhm.
to God, then there's nothing that can stop you.
There's no limit,
If
of
you,
course.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like you mentioned
So
as well, like coming being the front end of, like either the anchor or news reporter, that's just, or broadcaster, that's just one aspect of journalism. There's just so
yeah,
many other
yeah.
things
There's
that
so
you
many.
can get
Yes.
better at, and then still help produce a lot of traffic, even towards Jumaat's news and stuff
Yeah,
like that, but
yeah,
otherwise as
yeah,
well. But leave the being in front of the camera side of things. Otherwise, you kind of can work your way through and have a job at
yeah,
the end of the day, essentially. That's
yeah,
good. Can
yeah.
you tell us about your experience, how you got your job, where are you working, and what kind of your role involves on a day-to-day basis, and what you're responsible for?
So I did interviews for a couple of roles. I did also interviews for a role which was in Canberra, but it didn't really suit me to move over there. I wasn't really able to. So then I started working as a communications manager. So
Okay.
I work in corporate of a company. So I work
Mm-hmm.
as a communications manager. So my role is
As
pretty
a what
much to
manager, sorry? Communication manager, you
um,
said.
communications manager. So
Yeah.
my role is pretty much to deal with the internal and external communications of the company. So
Mm-hmm.
that means whatever marketing that needs to be done in terms of social media, in terms of doing press releases, in terms of connecting with the stakeholders, in terms of managing any internal events, any external events, doing any annual reports, doing any content creation, doing
Mm-hmm.
any videography related stuff, doing photography
Mm-hmm.
related stuff. So all of that, like just pretty much you're just pretty much putting the company out to the community.
Mm-hmm.
You are you're not essentially the face of it, but I have like done videos of myself for the company as well, but then you are putting the company out there for the people to, you know, interact with, for us to have more business, for us to
Yeah.
have more partnerships with, like we have partnership with Victoria University or Western
Hmm.
Bulldogs, the footy club.
Yeah.
So
And
pretty much I'll
who kind of liaises those things? Those deals are already done, and then you kind of determine what kind of content is created to kind of relay that to the external
yeah.
public.
Yeah. So I work directly with the CEO,
Yeah.
CEO and who she works with the board of directors.
Hmm.
So yeah, so whatever, like I work with her directly. So whatever is appropriate for the company, then
Hmm.
I usually, you know, put that out. Like if it's LinkedIn, if it's Instagram, Facebook, if it needs to go to media outlets. So yeah, so that's pretty much my day to day, and it's very um, it's not something even in this one, it's not something that I'm doing the same kind of thing every day. Like right now, we have started working on the project of so all these companies have like annual reports of what they've done throughout the company, what are the highlights, what are the people of the
Hmm.
company are doing. So yeah, so pretty much like the finances part of it, and then all the other like HR part of it. So pretty much I work with all of those departments, and so yeah, so it is a lot of the things that I've studied do come into this, but obviously it's not full-on journalist, you know, traditional
Yeah.
journalism.
Yeah.
A whole different parts of it, the majors I told you about.
Hmm.
All of that is pretty much into this.
Okay.
So yeah, so
Let's say,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, let's say, Brother Vijay, there's a year 10 or year 12 student listening to us right now or in the near future. What would be your recommendation to them? What kind of skills can they develop as they go? How can they have a bit of an exposure to understand what the field is about so that they can really choose and think about whether this field is really for themselves? Are there any opportunities and things like that?
Yeah, so I think the best would be to get into reading, get into writing, writing little
Hmm.
stories. You can write little articles for, you know, Al Masroor magazine, or, you know, like you can send it to your secretary shot, and, you know, you
Mm.
can write little articles, whatever it is. If you like
Yeah.
soccer, if you like cricket, if it's sports, if it's current affairs, if it's weather, anything you like, you know, if it's some story you read, if it's some book you're reading at the moment in your school, in
Mm.
your English class. So whatever essays you've written for that, you can probably send it over. So start practicing how to write, read and write. Everyone
Hmm.
pretty much knows how to create videos of your from your phone, but then I would say there's whole different there's different angles and you have to cover. So maybe look into it more deeply. You can just
Hmm.
look at videos and stuff for the start, for the time being, and of YouTube, and you can just
Yeah.
start into that, getting to know your camera more. Like you can just make basic videos, but there's obviously every phone camera has all sorts of different functions that you can use. So you can
Yeah.
get into that, or you can go into your local media MTA team and then request them if you can assist with anything, taking photos, taking videos, using gimbals. You can assist with doing interviews of the guests that come in.
Yeah.
You can, yeah, you can and practice approaching different guests. You know, you can practice calling people to come in for, you know, for the programs, and then you can do interviews with them. Start building connections with people, start to um, maybe I know it's a lot of people are not like some like, especially nowadays with people, everyone being on their phones all the time, there's not people are not inclined towards interacting with each other, like
Yeah.
it doesn't come naturally. Like, you know, if even if you're in a bus or a train or outside, you know, people wouldn't talk to someone, you know, they're not
Yeah.
comfortable with that. So maybe start doing that. Um, Maybe, you know, if you're in school, I know you already have friends, but you can start with making new friends. Um, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, just pretty much that would be the basic skill sets that you can start from the school level, and then gradually, you know, over time, you work on it, you enhance your skills, and once you're in the degree, then the degree tells you more stuff. Like you would think like, oh, I already know how to create a video, but there's when it comes to actually working in the studio, and when it's like just one take, and like you have to read the report in one take, then it's like, you know, you don't have to make any mistakes. Like the first thing they told me in the first class, in the first lecture, like you need to stop saying you need to get in the practice of stop saying like I know I say as well, but like everyone say, all of
It's
us
like
say,
those
but
things
you
that
don't
you
need
don't
to.
pay attention to until you like record
Yeah,
yourself and listen to it. You're like, oh, what just happened there?
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So you need to be able to pace yourself when you're talking. Not a lot of people might be have stage fright or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, they'll be like, oh, it's a 5 minute speech. I'll just finish it off in 2 minutes. Then I'll come back and come back down. So
You know,
yeah,
I've gone
so
a full
all those stuff.
circle. I've gone a full circle where that paced, fast speech was predominantly a bit of, anxiousness or stage fright, and then getting confident and that not being. And now I listen to all the videos and everything at either two speed or 2.2 or 2.3. And now
Yeah,
even in my regular conversations, people just look at me like, "Why are you talking so fast? Are you in a hurry?" But that's just because
yeah,
I hear things that fast paced so much. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
that's how I talk as well now. But yeah, that's a huge thing. So couple of points that you mentioned, brother, with Jihad is that from a young age, our brothers, whatever grade they are in, or even if they're doing a degree and they're thinking of doing, coming into journalism, would be get better at reading, get better at writing, better at communication. Maybe doing interviews even for Jamaat, for various things. They can do those interviews. They can start learning better videography and photography and all these kind of things that will be eventually like translatable kind of skills into their profession for
yeah,
the media and communications. I actually, that's so true. You know what? Like I actually sat down with the SBS correspondent for WA here, being in Perth, obviously for the media relations for Jamaat, and I sat down with him, had a good breakfast, and then he actually told me his journey where he kind of did a similar degree, but for 1 year he went to this remote town somewhere in the rural New South Wales where he was working for this local newspaper that was run by this one or two guys or whoever, and he was the only journalist. And that paper would be like a weekend paper, like a Saturday or a Sunday paper, and he would need to write 3 stories every day for him to be able to fill the paper, which will have like 50 stories for that town. And essentially, he was saying, for example, I'd go buy, some groceries. Someone would say, oh, by the way, like I would just have a chat with them. And then in the conversation, they'll say, oh, do you know that like that florist, the only florist in the town that she is selling the shop.
yeah,
And then like, all right, I'll go to the florist. That's my next story. To like ask them, oh, why are
mm,
you selling the shop? Like cost of living is high, blah blah blah. So he would
yeah,
like literally like go out, like obviously you can't go to pubs as regularly, but like I'd go to pub every night, and then you meet people and you hear something, you're like, oh, that's my story for tomorrow, and then it'll go. But he
yeah,
said that experience of 1 year that I did writing news stories every single day for 3 stories a day. Then I came back to WA and I applied for this job, being the WA correspondent. So he's the only SBS guy in the whole of state WA.
yeah,
So he
yeah,
said that now I applied for this job because I had a really good experience. I, did good at interview. Now I've got this job where he only needs to write 3 stories a week, or it's not even a
yeah,
hard target. It's just a very soft target if he can maintain those. And sometimes he's going to like conferences, going down south, meeting
yeah,
farmers 3 4 hours down. If there's a news about, there was recently this news about like there's a ban on like exporting live sheep and things like that. So in that way, what you said was kind of I was able to relate to that from that past experience where this guy who really needed to be really good in terms of his relations like
yeah,
communication
yeah,
with general public, interviewing. So he came and he messaged me the other day actually and said, there's this new study that came out of Curtin University that welders are exposed to toxic gases and they are at a higher risk of cancer. And he messaged me like, "Can you find me someone who's a welder, because I need to do this story today." So it was pretty much, I'm sure he was pretty much messing other people, and I got him a welder in Jamaat, and we were able to get a bit of
Yeah,
exposure for Jamaat through that. Like, I
yeah,
found some welder, and where he had the gentleman's welded steel frames at home as well, and there was
yeah,
picture of us at the cinema, so we kind of were able to show that in the video report as well. But he came alone. He had his own camera. Pretty much he
yeah,
set up his camera, and then he was asking the questions, and he was gonna then go back, edit all that footage and send it back, and he played it on it was played on national SBS channel. So
yeah,
that's something to learn, that getting at all these skills would be really good and
yeah,
translatable. So
yeah, yeah.
100%.
And
That was very
yeah, like it,
informative. Is there
yeah.
any other things, brother, you want to add? Things we have missed, things I couldn't ask you, that you think are really imperative for our brothers to know, to consider this
Yeah.
field?
I think it's a field that's anyone can get into, as long as you're just willing to just be a bit out of your shell and be out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not something, or you just grinding out a lot of hours and you're just sitting down till a
Mm,
lot of learning and stuff. It just pretty much you got to be able to um, um, you just need to enhance your writing skills and reading skills. And
mm-hmm.
then obviously your videos and stuff, that also comes on the way. And then the post-production, like editing and stuff. So just maybe start working on like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro, those kind of softwares as well too. So yeah, that's something that will come in handy as well. And also just wanted to say, like, if you're going to like the communications part of it, then you can work with different ministers and be the
Mm,
communication officer for them, and
yeah.
you can promote work in the local council, local ministers, local mayors, and then that way Jamaat will also have someone with the locals within the local council where
Mm,
Jamaat can go as well, and you can be to the minister, oh, this is something happening within my community, like iftar dinner or like a God summit.
mm,
So, you can, once you have that portfolio with the minister, then you can
yeah.
go, or yeah, because you're already working with the minister, you're already,
Yeah.
putting his word out there.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, we don't have much restrictions in terms of going into political side of it compared to
Mm,
like some overseas and stuff. So
yeah.
so it's always better to you know you can go into that as you can go into that part of it as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you don't want to do like be in front of the camera sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I think even
yeah,
through the press
yeah,
and media department, you remember we had a session recently where this gentleman who
yeah,
is in the
yeah,
communications or the team for the one
yeah,
of the
yeah,
ministers of the
yeah,
state, and
yeah, yes.
that's another kind of job that comes out of at the end of it. So just another question of what you just mentioned, Adobe Premiere, learning one of the skills. Speaking of the skills that people can learn at their own time, like you were saying, everything is available online now. Adobe Premiere, you mentioned. Are there other software that are industry standard that will be really good to learn? Any others that you know?
um in terms of softwares, is the only ones that are more in terms of industry are the ones for the vision switching and audios and stuff. Other
Okay.
than
Okay.
that, in terms of video, most of it is just Final Cut, Adobe Premiere, Photoshop.
Yeah.
And if you're doing the degree, or even if you're doing any other degree,
Yeah.
you pretty much get the student discount anyway from,
Yeah.
or you can just use it for free at the university, and
Yeah.
maybe learn that part of it. And yeah, so that's, and then there's some equipments in terms of like usually phone voice recorders are good anyway,
Mhm.
but to get a better, if you want to get a better, like if you want to use the voice clip, then there's like a small device that comes that the journalists use to record the audio of whoever they're interviewing, which is gives them more clear voice, and
Mhm.
it's more, you can pretty much straight away use it in the video, like on the for the camera, like the news report.
Okay.
So yeah, Yeah, so yeah, there's not too much investment that you need to do. There's not much capital that you have to have on your own end to learn those skills.
Agreed, 100%. Like we were saying before, everything's now available online. You just got to have a will. And like you were saying, you just got to be ready to put yourself out there. And
Yeah,
you've got to accept to be self-driven learner, not just rely on a degree to lead you somewhere. You have to have that kind of drive to get better. And that can start at any time, like you were saying,
yeah,
starting from reading a lot of different news, articles, opinion
yeah.
editorials,
Mm.
different kind of material, to get you better at that. And then that should be good for you for the future, inshallah. I don't have any further questions, Brother Vijay. I very, very appreciate your time and your insight. I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure it'll be very helpful for a lot of our brothers and even sisters when they listen to it in the future and on YouTube for years to come. So I really appreciate your time. Jazakumullah khairan jazak.
Jazakallah, jazakallah. Bye. Assalamu
Okay, assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
alaikum.